Progress or regress? What should be on our land? By Group 7. This is our info video.
Biogeochemical cycles define how nutrients and other elements move between biotic and abiotic factors. We will be discussing the carbon cycle married with the land environment.
Carbon in the atmosphere is mainly transferred to the soil through the plants. It is stored as soil organic carbon and also as carbonates in biomass in forests, mostly in vegetation. Normally, the roots of the trees and forests stabilize the soil so that the processes and nutrients in the soil happen naturally and in balance. When plants or other organisms decompose, the carbon stored in them gets transferred to the soil. The decomposers in the soil return the carbon that they acquired from consuming decayed organisms back to the atmosphere. They could also go back to the atmosphere via respiration from animals and humans, and then the cycle repeats. The carbon cycle happens at a fast pace, but what if we take into account the activities of humans? How would it be altered?
Hi, I'm Daryl Milo and I'm going to be discussing the anthropogenic effects of land use change. First of all, what is land use? The word land usage is used to describe how people use land. It depicts the economic and cultural activities that takes place in a certain location, such as agricultural, residential, industrial, mining, and other recreational usages. The purpose of public and private properties are usually diametrically opposed. For example, urban growth is uncommon on publicly held grounds, like parks and wilderness regions, whereas privately owned lands are rarely maintained for wilderness purposes. Land use differs from land cover in that some uses are not always physically obvious. For example, we have land used for producing timber, but not harvested for many years, and forested land, designated as wilderness, will both appear as forest covered, but they have totally different usages. In the effects of land use changes, we have land development, which create impervious surfaces through construction of roads, parking lots, and other structures. We have point source discharges, wherein industrial and municipal wastewater treatment facilities can contribute toxic compounds and heated water. Then we have land development patterns. In particular, dispersed growth, such as suburbanization, can contribute to a variety of environmental concerns. Still in the effects of land use changes, we have agricultural uses, in which agricultural land use may also result in a loss of native habitats or increased wind erosion and dust that may expose humans to particulate matter and other various chemicals. Then we have agricultural land uses, which affect the quality of water and watersheds. Lastly, some land uses can accelerate or exacerbate the spread of invasive species. We may note that in some cases, changes in land use may have positive effects, such as increasing habitat as a result of deliberate habitat restoration measures and reclamation of previously contaminated lands for urban or suburban development. There we have the anthropogenic effects of land use change.
Good day, I am Liel Tatero, and in this MVL we are going to discuss about epigenetics. This MVL aims to discuss the following. The first is the definition of epigenetics. Second is what influences epigenetics. Third is phenology. And the fourth is altered phenology. What is epigenetics? Epigenetics is a sequence of how your behavior and environment may influence how your genes function. Epigenetic alterations, unlike genetic changes, are reversible and do not alter your DNA sequence. Nevertheless, they can alter how your body interprets the DNA sequence. Gene expression is influenced by epigenetic modification in a variety of ways. The following are examples of epigenetic changes. First is DNA methylation. Second is histone modification. And third is non-coding RNA. A seasonal timing of life stages or life cycle events is known as phenology. With shifting climate conditions, this time may change. Since the 1960s, spring activities such as bird breeding or first singing, migrant bird arrival, emergence of butterflies, horses and spawning in frog, and shooting and flowering of plants have been happening sooner and earlier. For example, bird migration, breeding, and nesting are timed every spring to coincide with peak availability of critical food sources in a delicate synchronization that occurs across large distances and diverse habitats. If the arrival of migrating bird to its breeding ground and insect depends on food, both occur 2 weeks earlier due to the effect of climate change. They remain in synchrony and may persist. However, if the bird arrives before or after the insect hatch and emergence, they become out of synchrony, and the birds will not have enough food to successfully reproduce, ultimately leading to population declines.
Lyme disease. Invasive species. An invasive species is a non-native organism that causes ecological or economic harm in a new environment. Invasive species have the potential to extirpate native plants and animals, reduce biodiversity, compete with native organisms for limited resources, and alter habitats. What is Lyme disease? Borrelia burgdorferi, in rare cases, Borrelia mayoni are the bacteria that cause Lyme disease. Infection occurs when humans are bitten by infected blackleg ticks. Lyme disease symptoms include fever, headache, fatigue, erythema migraines, and a distinctive skin rash. Infection can spread to joints, the heart, and the nervous system if left untreated. Ticks can attach to any part of the human body. They are mostly found in areas that are difficult to see, such as the groin, armpits, and scalp. The ticks must be attached for 36 to 84 hours or more in most cases before the Lyme disease bacterium can be transmitted. There is no proof that Lyme disease is passed from person to person. In the early stages of Lyme disease, people who treated with appropriate antibiotics such as doxycycline, amoxicillin, and cerebromycin usually recover quickly and completely. Early Lyme disease diagnosis and antibiotic treatment can be help prevent Lyme disease. That's all.